Okay, I'm standing here and I'm thinking people are looking at me like, well, do you know what to do? And yeah, I do. And I want to welcome all of you today and thank you for being here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and participating in our local control accountability plan. One of the intentions of the law when this was put into effect for local control accountability and local control funding formula was that there be routine meetings where we meet and update what's happening with our LCAP. And today you're going to hear some updates on what's happening in different areas, and on your agenda it lists all of those. Now in the packet there's a form that says LCAP stakeholder meeting feedback form. Now, if you've ever filled one of these out, you know that people do respond to you. You do not fill them out and then they put them away. And if you want to be responded to, you have to put down your email or your phone number or some information that would help us. And then you have to write so that we can read what you wrote down. And I know they didn't give you a lot of space there because it says please provide feedback or indicate areas that you need clarification. So there's all these areas there, but you can write outside the lines and stuff. I mean, you don't have to write right in there. So at the end of the meeting, we want you to leave these on the table, and they'll be collected, and then they are responded to. And in fact, I follow up myself to make sure that they are. Either I will or somebody will. So are there any celebrations or anybody that's new that's never been here before? Is anybody this is their first time to attend? Yeah, y'all are new, so could y'all say who y'all are? And
I'm Carrie Vega. I am a teacher over at Landmark Middle School. Also a teacher at Landmark Middle School.
and they did such a great job at our study session on. We really hadn't met them before, and they did such a great job in our study session that we invited them back to this because we thought the community needed to hear what they're doing in special education at Landmark. So thank you for returning. And then is anybody else that hadn't been here before? I mean, Lynn Larson, you weren't here last time, but you're here this time, so that's great. And then, from Reno Valley College, thank y'all for being here, Daryl and Julio from Val Verde, but, really works for Reno Valley College. And then Mr. Holguin, our board member, is here. And then Mrs. Smith and Mr. Johnson might be coming. And then all the students, I want to thank you especially for being here because you don't get paid to be here. You're not on a clock. You come on your own time and you commit to our community. And you never complain and you always act like you're happy to be here. And sometimes people don't sit by you. And I feel bad, but I think maybe they feel like that they're older and you're younger, and they don't want you to feel like the old people are like getting near you and all that, But Daryl Scott did take a thank you for sitting by, right there, and then you sat by. I see you, Ben. I'm getting to you now, but I think that's great that people sit by students, and I highly recommend. Like, aren't y'all all from Valley View over there? Yeah. Well, you're at Canyon Springs, so I couldn't tell. And then Glenn, thank you for sitting by them. So, and then Jolynn Neal is here. She's the association president for the classified union. So thank you for being here. And then I think Harold and Catherine's here. Oh, you're saving them seats over there by you? Catherine Underwood's here, yeah. And so just want you to know that lots of representation in the room. Hey, Mr. Wallace. Thank you for being here. Y'all don't have any idea what a community member we have. There's so many of you that you see at everything, but he just hauls and does stuff. Like I'm like amazed. So do any of y'all have any celebrations you want to share? Anybody want to celebrate anything or share anything? Yes, Jolene, go ahead.
My grandson, who is a football player, just accepted a 4-year scholarship for Azusa Pacific. It's kind of nice to have him in state instead of me having to fly to football games. He's kind of shaky about it because he wanted to be one. But I'm kind of content. Azusa Pacific is one of our state. Is one of our good colleges here in the state, so close to home.
Thank you, Jolynn, and congratulations. What's your grandson's name?
Just
so when we hear about him doing something, we all know we read it in the paper, like we know him. Somebody had their hand up over here somewhere. Lynn Larson, Dr. Lynn Larson from Brandman University.
So this past week, the commission had a meeting about new standards for teacher preparation and special education, and Harold presented and did just an absolutely fabulous job representing special education and the areas that he teaches, as well as Moreno Valley. So should be very proud of him. He talks regularly up there and always does just a fantastic job.
Harold Acorn. I thought he was a German and Spanish teacher.
Yeah, he was up talking about the.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. You said it. Did you say he was a special ed teacher?
No.
Oh, okay. He was just representing it. Okay. Well, that's good. He's not here. I wish you could have said that when he was here because. He,
Right, he's CTA liaison to the commission.
okay. He's in the parking lot, I hear. But maybe they'll text him and let him know good things are being said about him. Thank you. So, Ms. Brown, you have something you want to share?
I always have something to share.
I mean, celebrate or, you know.
Well, I have a celebration and an invitation as well. Mountain View is putting on its second annual Junior Black Achievers Career Day. And we have several professionals that are coming out to present to our students at the school site. In the first session, they're going to mill through like a job fair. And the second session, we have professionals that are going into the actual classrooms and they're going to do presentations. And so we're looking forward to this because it's the second year that we've done it. And we have people, even at the last minute, calling us, talking about, can you make a spot for me? And that is a good problem to have. Rather
Yeah,
than
that
not
is.
having enough people.
Yeah, people are talking about what you're doing over there. Yeah, that's good. Anybody else? I don't want anybody to be left out or not get to tell something. But Greg Solomon, who's the Visual and Performing Arts Coordinator, who's that little girl sitting beside you? Oh, okay. And you came by yourself over here? Oh, okay, that's good. Okay. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Is that what you're celebrating? Okay.
Youth Art Month had their award ceremony, and for the second year, Vista Heights swept the digital art classification, first, second, and third place, and doing some great things at the middle school on digital art.
When was that?
The awards were Saturday.
Oh, that's what we were at.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It was wonderful. That was an amazing thing, and I'm so glad I went. I didn't know about it, but I'm so glad I showed up there. And I think a lot of you, I just want to tell you, Moreno Valley has an art gallery. Did you know that? It's in Stone Ridge, isn't that right?
Yes.
And they had the Landmark Jazz Band playing out there, and there was all these people from all over in Moreno Valley talking about art, and it was kind of LA-ish. But, you know, you had to be there, and I hate it that y'all missed it. But sometimes, you know, people just don't come to things, and I'm thinking, I can't believe they're not here and get to see these kids get all these awards. It was excellent. Thank you. So I wanted to tell y'all that, oh, sorry, Lisa.
I wanted to celebrate the Unity Conference on Saturday.
Well, stand up and celebrate.
I'd like to thank everyone in this room and in our district, our board members, our superintendent for really collaborating, Leah Villa and her department, Marcus Peta Medina, for doing such a great job with the Unity Conference. And I know many of you had a role to play in that. And so thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot. And I think our parents reap the benefits of our working together.
It was excellent, thank you. Yeah, and everybody who participated, it was just excellent. Dr. Buster, did you want to say anything about the science fair on Friday night? Sure. I mean, I think you should.
We had over 200 projects at the science fair. All 200 students received a medal for participating, and 34 were selected by judges to go on to the county competition in March.
And then I just want y'all to know this week, y'all should be out supporting the different teams in our community because they're in the CIF playoffs, many of them. and this is on our Moreno Valley web page and our Facebook page, and it's on our website. So just in basketball, like LaToya Brown, you didn't say this, but your girls, I think it's your girls, isn't it? They're in the playoffs with Pasadena Poly on February 15th at 7 o'clock. Yeah, aren't you excited? Okay. And then Valley View High School, Valley View, the girls are going to play Great Oak at Valley View on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So that's a home game, and if you're in the area, you should go in there and support those girls because they really, it's like amazing how they play. I mean, I'm telling you. So don't look at me like, you're like thinking, is this for real? It's the truth. They are amazing basketball players. They're not timid. They're not shy. They take that ball and they run with it, and then they make it count. And they lost one game to North, and it was by 3 points, but that was pitiful that they lost. But they won every game. They played like 25 games and won every one, but that's the one they lost. But yeah, but let's that's why we got to be there to support them. And then Canyon Springs. Who's from Canyon Springs in here? Do you know the girls are playing Vista Marietta on Thursday at 7 o'clock? So y'all should be there because these girls really need support. They really need to see you out there. And then the water polo team, Moreno Valley and Valley View, have teams in the playoffs. Those are girls water polo teams. Yeah, we've never had some of this before. I mean, y'all are acting like this happens every day, okay? Girls soccer, they're playing in Garden Grove on February 13th in the Moreno Valley High School. Aren't you proud of them, LaToya? Okay. Valley View's playing Walnut away, and Vista Del Lagos also, their girls soccer team. They're in the playoffs. And boys soccer, Moreno Valley High School. I mean, I thought you'd be up. Don't you want to stand up and... I see that.
And Moreno Valley High School has the first female wrestler to be CIF champion. Her name is Genesis Miranda.
You've got to say this to these people because they won't know this. They'll leave here and they won't know that Genesis Miranda did this. She'll do it and then people won't know, and she doesn't want that.
She's outstanding. She's made CIF every year, and she's a senior this year. So we're looking for her to be a champion in the national finals.
And then Valley View, the boys soccer's playing Fontana away on February 16th. Is that a holiday? Yes. But it's not for them. So they're playing at 5 o'clock in Fontana. So all these things are on the district website. You should go to them, and you should tell the people you're there and say you're supporting whoever you're supporting. Who? Oh, yeah, the VAPA schedule's up there, too, and all the performances are up there. So these kids, they really like it when you're there, and don't you? And they always say, thank you for coming, and we're glad you're here. So you can go to the next slide. I've taken up too much time. One of the things that we continue to do through our dashboard, and you'll hear more about today, is how we're championing equity, but looking at all the areas that we need to look at and address. This is a multi-year plan. We've already have many things in place, but it's emphasizing things once we find out data that we need to apply in different areas sometimes because we've not looked at different student groups or they've struggled and we weren't aware of it till we got our data back. So you can go to the next one. And then this is stakeholder engagement objective. And I'm gonna read this, and I hate to read it, but I want y'all to know about it because we believe that meaningful engagement of parents, students, and other stakeholders, including those representing the student groups identified by LCFF, is critical to the development of the LCAP and the budget process. And our stakeholder engagement includes consulting with teachers, principals, administrators, other school personnel, local bargaining units of the school district, parents, and pupils in developing the LCAP. So that's what we're doing here today is we're engaging in this process, and all of you are part of that process. So thank you for being here today. Did anybody not see that they were part of this represented there? Corey, did you see you're represented?
I didn't see community, but I already know you're.
Well, it could be other stakeholders, but it's a good idea to put the community in there, isn't it?
You're one of the best that does it.
Yeah. So Lisa, we need to add that, okay? All right. And, we can always add to it. It's not anything that stays, yeah. I saw him look at it like, I don't see something there. And then, one of the things we talked about this year is how do we have excellence on purpose in our district. And so we talk about these 11 commitments. And one of the things that I was really proud of this week is how we've enhanced our community through action. And that was our Unity Conference that had over about 1,000 people there on Saturday. And I want to thank Jolynn Neal, who was there the whole day and helped. It was a lot of people to have and support, over 1,000 people. I mean, just amazing. And then Dr. Buster, I want to thank you for the science fair, because that's the biggest science fair we've had in a long time. I don't know that we've had one that large with that many projects, and we're very proud. And that our students really benefit because they love to do things like that. So that's enhancing community through action. So thank you. And then this is our strategic plan, which is aligned with our LCAP, and I just mention this each time because it was developed in 2014, and we have it. It goes until 2020, and then that's when we revisit it to revise it. But it was designed at the same time as the LCAP. And then I want people to know we added 3 additional meetings this year. There's a flyer in your folder. And these are not these kinds of meetings because this is a district stakeholder meeting, but we wanted to go out into the community more and have community meetings to really develop the process even further with family members. And Lisa, aren't we going to try to have food there for people? Yeah, we're going to have food there. And then, Greg, aren't we going to have some musical performances? So we're hoping these are huge and that there's not enough room and that there's a lot of people there, because what we want is a lot of people connecting with what we're doing here. So there's one on March 5th at Edgemont Elementary, there's one at Canyon Springs on April 2nd, and one at Valley View High School on April 9th. And again, it's to tell, share, but also receive input from the community, and it's trying to involve the community in different places than just here at the district office. So Lisa, I think that concludes my part, doesn't it? And I'm proud that you. So, who's next? Glenn Allegre. So he's going to come up. Mr. Holguin, since you're a board member here, did you want to say something? Yeah, I mean, I don't have anybody else from the board here right now, but I think it's really important, and I appreciate you being here, and so does the community, and being representative of our Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Katsura. I learned a long time ago that you never say no to Dr. Katsura. So when he asked if I want to say something, of course I want to say something. And I want to say to all of you, thank you for being here. Thank you for your participation. One thing that we need to celebrate, since we are in the celebration mode here, is that this district, when the LCAP document is put together by the administration, all the staff members, and all the community members, is being used as an example for many, many school districts around the state. And in fact, I think I mentioned to you before that Dr. Katsura and I are part of a committee up in Sacramento that was designed by the California Collaborative for Education Excellence. And they are looking at the different LCAP documents from many, many different districts, and they're trying to find ways to improve the whole process. So they invited certain school districts because they thought these are the districts that are really doing it the right way, the proper way. So Moreno Valley was invited to be part of that group. It's the Professional Learning Network. So we go to Sacramento and we tell them about the whole process, including the community involvement, and they are using that. And in fact, isn't it that a couple of them are trying to come down to Moreno Valley to see how it's working? Because they like it. They like what is happening here. They're looking at us, and we're very proud that that is happening, because all the work and all the input that you're giving to the school district is really paying off, because it's benefiting the students here within the district, but at the same time, it's showing other districts this is the way you do it. So come and look at Moreno Valley's document. So thank you for being here. Thank you for devoting this time for this purpose. We're really proud of the work, and of course, you are a very important part of it. So thank you so much for participating.
So would y'all please welcome Glenn Allegre. He's the Director of Accountability and Assessment.
couple of weeks ago, we had the board study session, and during that time, we went over a quick overview of the dashboard. So what we're going to be doing right now is just going through a few of those slides to give you an overview of what the dashboard is and then how we were going to respond to it. It all goes back to going back to ESSA, which overtook No Child Left Behind, and it eliminated that thing called AYP. Now, for you students, you guys probably aren't aware of this, and lucky for you, you guys don't know anything about it. But it required us to get students moving every percentage all the way to, in the year 2013, 100% of all students were going to be proficient in math and ELA. Very lofty goal, but one that was a little bit unrealistic. And so politicians knew that, educators knew that, and so they redesigned it into, well, when ESSA came out, they decided to redo and redesign that whole accountability system. So the new one that ESSA requires us to have, it's going to have things based on standardized test scores in reading and math and science. It's also going to include English learner proficiency, something we never had in the old system. We had another accountability system, AMAOs, if that means anything to you guys, but that went away. They also wanted to make sure graduation rates were also included in ESSA. And then they wanted to make sure there was at least one non-academic measure in this accountability system. Totally brand new, pioneering actually. So there's going to be some either suspension, chronic absenteeism, some kind of parent engagement component to it, and then measuring of school climate. In fact, that was a requirement. California went above and beyond, and we're including all of those things in our accountability system. And as it says here, all of these are tied in some way, shape, or form to our LCFF evaluation rubrics. So here are our priorities under LCFF. There's 8 of them. And you have some in white and then some in green. The ones that are in white, those are all what we call data, local indicators, but that's data that we collect here locally and then send up to the state and telling them whether we've met this criteria or that criteria. The ones in green are actually data that the CDE collects from us through something called CalPads, and then they crunch all the numbers for us, and then they report back to us everything like academic indicators, chronic absenteeism, graduation rate. All those things are now going to be part of the accountability system. And so the example I like to use is, think of the green parts as a report card. These are all your different subjects in school. These are all the different areas in the report card. So just like with a report card, you get graded on each of these. So you're going to get a grade for an academic indicator. You're going to get a grade for a college and career indicator. You're going to get a grade for graduation rate. Just like with grades, you have A being the highest, F being the lowest. We also have grades for the state. And they are actually colors. Where blue is the highest, green next, and red being the lowest. So if you think of your 1 through 5 scale in a rubric, or A, B, all the way to F, that's where you're thinking about the link here between the priorities and a report card. Again, they broke it up into 5 pieces in a pie, 4, 3, 2, 1, so that even if this was black and white, you can still tell what was received. So these are the grades that you get for each of those different indicators, where blue is the highest and red being the lowest. So how do you get the grades? In the old system, the one that I told you about that always goes percentage up, 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 they only cared about what percentage you got. So for example, if we had 60% of our kids score well on the state test, which isn't 100%, okay, people said, okay, that's good, but it's not the highest. But what if I were to tell you that we came from 10%? Would that be a good thing? Yeah, to move up 50% would be awesome. Their old system never took that into consideration. That old system said, this is what you're supposed to be. If you don't get there, then shame on you. This new system actually says, no, we need to recognize people that did well, awesome, but we also need to recognize people that maybe started low and made significant gain towards that. That's awesome too. So they have it in what's called status and change, where you can see here status is going to be on the left side of the chart with change on the right. And status goes from very low, low, all the way to very high. So for example, if this was a graduation rate, this might be like 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. So if you were to score like a 90%, you'd be somewhere up here. And then like when I use that other example, let's say your percentage was 50% before, and then you jumped, that's what's going to be in the change, where it's declined significantly, up to maintained in the middle, or increased significantly all the way to the end. And so using that will determine what color you are. So based on your status and your change, you'll be somewhere in this grid. Whatever color that is where you'll be. For example, let's say you have an LEA with a high status and increased in change. So looking at this, here's your status. If you're at high, then you're going to be somewhere along this row. If you have a change that's increased, that's not it. Increased is right here. So where do those two intersect? A high with an increased puts you right there in green. So in whatever indicator we were talking about, you'd be green, and so you'd get that green pie on the dashboard. I know that was really quick. If you'd like, I'll spend some time with you. Give me a call or email me, and I'll go through more examples with you. Next chart. So what we have here is a screenshot of the dashboard on the California Department of Ed's website at www.casschooldashboard.org. It's a little bit small, but you'll get the idea. So here we have it listed: chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, English learner progress, and so on. And right next to it are the pies associated with it. So for suspension rate, it was orange. For English learner progress, it was green. For graduation rate, it was green. Again, how did they get that green? They lined up the status from last year, or from last year, and then from the prior year, they figured out the change, and it ended up on that grid somewhere in the green column. And then you see orange and yellow. If you clicked on all these different tabs on the CDE website, you'll get a lot more information to help pinpoint that. What I did was I created a chart for the district so that it shows you, it looks like a lot of information, and it is, not for the faint of heart. But what I like about this is that when you see data sometimes put together in different ways, things stand out, things jump out, and you can see things more clearly. For example, if I look at graduation rate indicator, what colors do you see going down? Green. A lot of greens and a blue. That's a great thing. Remember, blue being the highest, green being next. And so this is, excuse me. This is our chart from the last, when it came out in fall 2017. It actually came out on December 7th. Just so you guys look at this, if we look at this English learner progress, we have the pie here. We also have here 7257. That's how many students we had that were part of that indicator for the English learner progress. We also have, it says high and medium, abbreviated with H and M. And we also have 75 and 1.2. That means 75% and a change of 1.2. And then inside this 5x5 grid, it shows you the white dot right there under the green, and that's how that was determined. All right. Again, give me a call if you're really interested about this. I'll go through a whole thing with you.
Glad you're here.
And then we also did it for the schools. So here, it's the same chart, except it lists all the elementaries and how they did on the different indicators, and then again with the secondary. Again, on the dashboard, on the CDE, these are all one page for each of these. When you see it all together, you can see the trends. For example, graduation rate, what does that tell you about all our high schools? We're doing great. You see green all the way down. Even English learner progress indicator, what do you see? Blues and greens. It's awesome. You don't really get that same effect when you look at it individually. One other thing. Last year here for 3rd through 8th grade, an academic indicator, we didn't have a single green in that column, and we actually had a few more reds. This year, 2 greens, lots of yellows, and only 2 oranges. Huge improvement from the last time the dashboard was displayed. And here's the key in case you want to. I don't know how small it is on the slides on your PowerPoint, but if you want to get into it, you'll be able to see that. Any questions about anything I've talked about so far? Okay. And with that, here's Maribel.
Good evening. I am here to announce that we're going to give you all a test. I'm kidding. Lisa, can you leave that slide back for me? Because I'm going to ask you a question. Because I know at least with my eyes, it's hard to see on the handout. Do you see any groups that might have some red? Where are the student groups? I think it was the one before. No. Keep going. Any student groups that if you look at either suspension rate, graduation, or the academics in ELA and math, are there any groups that you see, well, you know what, I have a concern? Do you see any? Can I have you, okay, I'm going to be like a can someone let me know what those groups are? Daryl Scott. Foster youth. Okay. Any other group? Students with disabilities. Am I concerned about any other group? African American. So now let's go to that slide. So part of the accountability system, this accountability system, is that they do identify districts with group that we need to meet their needs. And so if you get into either pupil achievement, pupil engagement, or school climate, if you see any of those red indicators in any area, then this district has to provide some assistance for those groups. And I want to say student groups, we don't call, sometimes we use subgroups, but the term now is student groups. They're all of our students, so these are our student groups. So did this district meet this criteria for differentiated assistance? And I think you know the answer, and you correctly identified the group. So these are the groups. Foster youth, and you have this in your handout. These are the indicators where they're in red: students with disabilities and African American students. So now part of the rest of the presentation is going to be different staff members coming up to tell us what are some things, and I say what are some things that we're doing to address the needs of this groups, and then you're here also to give us input. Okay, so with that, I'm going to start with the ELA math plans. What are we doing with our literacy math plans? One, hopefully you all know, especially students maybe, that we do have math and literacy plans for our schools. What are we doing with those? To address now, we have identified criteria that we need to address and do some work on. So Dr. Buster and then different people are going to be coming up to address the different groups, okay?
So currently we have ELA and math plans to work through our accelerating our achievement for our students. Our biggest work, as you can see, is as you had seen earlier, was in English language arts, but we were fortunate because we just got a new adoption. So we have much more effective materials for our teachers. So some of the things that we can do, these are the components of the current ELA and math plans, with in the first row being planning, the second row interventions, the third row parent communication, the fourth row in-class coaching, the fifth row professional development, and the sixth row CASP prep. So some of the things that are currently happening in these areas and what we can do now to respond to the data that we have in front of us, the data is very clear that we have kind of 7 areas with 3 student groups as a focus area: are foster youth, students with disabilities, and African American students. So we can take these areas and now really focus on those areas. So in a nutshell, what we can do is we can take these current activities that are listed here, and really focus on those students and student groups. I'm just going to call out a couple of them, so I won't go into major details about this because it could take a while. So in interventions, we want to make sure that sites will develop a way to target those 3 focus groups. We have a story about Dr. Kedziora visiting a school site and seeing a data wall that is a confidential data wall at a school site, and noticing the students that were in the red and asking the coach, do you know which students are African American or foster youth or students with disability? And it made the coach and the principal think, no, we really don't know. So they came up with a system for identifying those students so they would be targeted. And so we can take what we're already doing and just be a little more deliberate. Parent communication. Our parent communication has been amazing this year, as evidenced by the Unity Conference. But I think that we have some principals here, Dr. McNair, a couple of other principals that can attest that you've had hundreds show up for your parent nights, like record numbers. Like, how many for your last, like 100 at math night. Some schools are having STEAM or Chromebook night, and they're getting 200-300. There's even some schools that have had 500 and 1,000 parents. So we can take that and be a little more deliberate with our offerings and make sure that we're focusing those groups. Also in-class coaching, really targeting those students, and then professional development. And one of the things that we feel very strongly about, we'll talk more about this in a few slides later, is that teachers will be encouraged to attend trainings specifically designed for the 3 target groups, and these trainings may include cultural proficiency, how to scaffold and support students with special needs, and address socio-emotional concerns. So there's a lot of moving parts, so we really want to encourage our students to be, our teachers and our staff members to be participating in these types of trainings to really ratchet up their focus and support in the classroom. And then, of course, we have our CAS prep, and we really want to make sure those students are taking the practice tests and using the interim assessments as well. Do you have any questions? We've got a question right here. I think that probably Shelley Crandall will be talking about that in just a moment. But of course, I want to say both, because we want to accelerate their learning, but we want them also to understand whatever disability they have and to compensate for it and to achieve just as their general ed peers. Anything else? Mrs. Rucker.
Now, I'm looking at the crowd, and you guys are kind of glazed over. So wiggle your body or something, because I'm not going to talk to like just do what you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to go real quick. So I just took up like 3 seconds of my time, but when you're glossed over, it just doesn't mean anything. So you have to kind of do self-care. I'm like the counselor in the house. So, all right. So one of the student groups is foster youth. And that's one of the students in the red. And as we know, those are students that move different places. So they're kind of a moving target. So we might start with a student, but then they go somewhere else. So on our superintendent's goals and expectations, our goal for 2017-18 is to have fewer suspensions from 13.2 to 8.2. So finding other means of correction. If someone steals a food, maybe they're hungry, that doesn't mean that they need to be suspended. So kind of look at the whole child to see what's going on with them and not be so punitive. We have designated counselors at every school to meet with foster youth. As soon as we find out they're foster, we kind of reach out and see what other services we can provide for them. We also try to integrate the PBIS. A lot of schools have different words like stop, listen, report, help a friend, those kind of things. So we try to integrate our discipline in with that. We collaborate with the Department of Social Services with the social workers. So sometimes if there's something going on with a student, we kind of collaborate on what can we do. Are they getting outside counseling? Can we help augment what's going on? Sometimes there's students that are suicidal, and we have in our city the CREST team. And they said that we use them so much, they have a team dedicated to us. And to me, that means that we're aware and we're responding to the need. And so we're collaborating with them to make sure we're on the same page with the student. Provide mental health and mentoring services, connecting students to someone that will listen, like relationships go a long way. And expand participation in social activities at school and events. So we try to make sure if there's no transportation or if they're unaware of things to connect them to the school. Academic-wise, a student will, maybe for the high school and middle school, if a student is struggling, they'll connect them to tutoring or peer tutoring for math and English language arts. Am I talking too fast? Are you guys awake? Okay. All right. Okay, so the other thing is for foster youth graduation rate. We're all doing leaps and bounds with graduation rate, but the current rate for foster youth for 15-16 was 61.7. And I think part of that is because they started with us and then they're gone. And so if we don't connect them to another district, they're counted as with us as a dropout. So we try to make sure when they leave or we pass them on that we find out where they are and kind of connect them to the next place. We do try to keep them. We have a lot of students. They have a thing called School of Origin. So we have, and I'm real particular for seniors. So if there's a senior, like we have one now that they are in a home in Fontana, but we're keeping them here. And they're doing well. But it's so we're making arrangements with foster parents and also our McKinney Vento, our homeless students. And homeless doesn't mean you're on the street with a grocery cart. It means that you're displaced or you have unstable housing. So you might live with aunt this week, uncle next week, friend next week. So you're moving, so it's unstable. So they're considered at risk also, not at risk, but they have challenges that we need to help bridge that gap. Okay, with counselors, they do for the middle school 6-year plans and then for high school 4-year plans to make sure. I'm just going to skim over this part, but one of the things that for foster youth and homeless youth, the state has an legislation, Assembly Bill 216, where students can graduate with fewer credits. They still have to take the core classes, but it might waive their PE and some other things that are kind of extra, some of the elective classes. So, and the reason behind that is the state realizes that they move a lot, and it will be hard sometimes to make up some of those credits. So we make sure that the students have that option, tutoring, credit recovery, and summer school. This year, the county is offering a foster youth FAFSA challenge, and that will be a challenge, getting that information from the parents, but that's a area of focus. And this one I'm really proud of is we're doing a Moreno Valley College, a Ben Clark field trip next week, actually. And then with UCR, they had UCR Foster Youth Day, and we got a lot of kids, and then they called and said, you could only take 10 kids, and I had 30, and I said, I'm not going to pick, and so we're getting our own day. So, yeah, I was hot. I'm sorry. Okay, that's just okay. And then the last thing is the foster youth orientation. I'm working with Department of Social Services, and they've agreed. We just have to find a date that we take the incoming 8th graders. We talk about credits. We talk about what you need, and we empower the kids because as they move, they need to say, no, I already have this class. I need this class. So just empower them with that, and letting them know what resources there are with them. So that's what we're doing with foster youth, and we're working forward. Okay. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Bigger problem with foster kids is getting them connected because they're so used to bouncing around. And I understand it's hard, but is there anything in particular that we're doing to try to get them connected with either groups of kids, or you mentioned mentorship programs. I don't know what we have in the way of mentorship.
Right.
How do we get them connected so they really feel
Right.
community.
Right. Some of the school. One of the things that I started with the counselors because I work with them a lot. Having them start clubs. One of them is failure is not an option club, or I just say you call it the Glee Club, whatever. But we kind of reach out for students, and then they say bring a friend, so they don't. We want to reduce the stigma. So bring a friend, and they're doing activities like one school did a ice cream social. One did music, and they brought in like a guest speaker. One of the things I'm working on is having a contract with a motivational speaker that was also foster and homeless, and he kind of tells his story. So he's willing to do like a big school-wide thing, and then have small focus groups. So we're trying to do things at their school so they're connected, and then later after we get all those established, then we'll do a big grand thing. But I think having an intimate relationship at the school is a great thing. Yes. Yes, the Riverside County Office of Ed is also having a foster homeless professional development. So I invite the counselors to attend that.
But I mean the kids for the RSBA, Riverside School.
Oh, are they?
CSBA.
See, I don't know that one.
Newberry contacted you. How many seniors?
Oh, I didn't know what he was doing. He just asked me how many. We have 47 seniors. Foster youth seniors. Okay, so I didn't know what he was doing. I just responded to him. But okay, so.
That's what his question was about how we're connecting, and I was just saying.
Oh.
All these different, you were doing a great job. I just wanted to add that because Mr. Holguin's part of that.
Well, I see. I didn't know. I just responded to what I needed to do.
We're good.
Okay, we're doing that too. Anything else?
I'm not gonna add any more.
I'm running as fast as I can. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Rucker. We now are going to be discussing our students with disabilities, and I'd like to ask Shelley Crandall, who is our assistant director, to come on up with her team. And Dr. Kedzira, you feel free to add. As there.
Thank you. As she mentioned, I'm the assistant director of the SELPA, and you've heard that we have some areas that we really need to focus on for our students. And one of the things that we really need to focus on is suspension rate and making sure that our students are in school and getting the support they need here instead of being at home. So some of the ways that we've been working on that is district-wide implementation of PBIS, Positive Behavior Interventions and Support. We had 33 schools receive awards this year for implementation of PBIS, and that was a state recognition for our schools. So that was, yay, it was exciting for us. In addition to making sure that we're implementing PBIS, we also want to be following through with our students and with our teachers to make sure that we're not just keeping them in the school, but also helping them to make good decisions and helping our teachers to be able to support them. So we've added staff, 2 behavior specialists, and also coordinator to assist in this area. We also are getting ready to start implementing restorative practices. So when students do get into trouble, do have a difficulty, how do we restore them back to their school community? And that's going to be a big next step for us. We're also working with District Discipline Committee and different stakeholders on addressing, I think we mentioned it earlier, the sequential discipline guide and how we take positive steps to support our students. Okay, all right, so when we look at the academic indicator, we've established a focus group to determine what the root causes are. Why haven't we met our goals for our students in language arts and math? We have special education teachers participating in core curriculum professional development. We had special trainings for them this year, just focusing on, with our new curriculum, how do they reach our students and what kind of supports are embedded in the curriculum so that they can help meet the needs of our students. Their special education teachers are also involved at the site level in their PLCs with their general education peers, working on how to meet the needs of all students. And then we're really focusing on training and implementing data analysis protocols. Specifically for the special education teacher, what does all of the data tell us about where students are at and how do we move them forward? And to really talk about what that looks like at the school level, we've invited several staff members. We have 2 teachers, Mary Vega and Valeria Gardea from Landmark Middle School, and their support staff from our office, Rosemary Nerschel is the program specialist who supports their program. They're going to talk to you a little bit about what they're doing to support student achievement.
Hello, good evening. I am Mary Vega, like she mentioned before. I have been teaching special education for about 19 years. I've been in this district for about 8. And I'm currently over at Landmark Middle School as a SDC teacher, focused specifically on English language arts, but also social studies.
I'm Valeria Gardea. We work together. We switch our kids. I teach 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade math, and 8th grade ELA. Oh, yes. And we're currently on Landmark. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the math. This year, we are very proud of our students. They have made a lot of progress on their MAP scores from the fall to the winter, and measures of academic progress, their RIT scores, growth analysis. 33% have met or exceeded already their projected RIT. 51.9 met individual projected goals, and 75% have already made some positive growth. And I currently use what everybody else in the Gen Ed classrooms are using, the McGraw-Hill consumable book. And I really do not supplement anything. I just make sure that I break it down to where my students could understand it. And it might take me a little bit longer to move forward for the next lesson, but I don't move forward until I know that at least 80% of my students have understood the material. Any questions? Yeah, okay.
So we know that our students scored on their SBAC test level 1. We are aware of that. We focus on the MAPS test because the MAPS test is showing us where our students are currently. When they come into the classroom, are they ready to learn, and are they ready to learn the materials that we are teaching at that moment in time? And the nice thing about that MAPS test is it's showing what are they supposed to learn over the course of a school year. And when we assess at the very beginning, we don't really expect them to know all of grade level material at the beginning. When we test them again, we want to see that they've learned something towards grade level. And that's why this is so important to us, is that it's showing our students as well as us that by allowing them to access core materials in an SDC class, that they are going to make progress. Can you show the reading scores? So 50% of our students at our site have exceeded their projected RIT score, which is amazing. 65% their individual projected growth, and 83% of our students made some kind of growth on their MAP score, and it's huge. And being able to sit down with our students and have this discussion with them and saying, look what you have accomplished, allowed them to set these goals that were even more lofty than what they started with. My students don't set a goal of only 1 or 2 points for this next year or the next testing. Most of them set a goal of 5 to 10 points. I now have students who actually grew 29 points who have set that goal for now 30 points. 29 wasn't enough for them. They want more. And by being able to sit down with them repeatedly about the progress that they're making and looking at the data throughout, shows them that they can do anything. And that's the most important thing to us, is that they can accomplish absolutely anything when they decide that they're ready for it, and they've chosen that. Any questions?
Now the study session, you told us
Okay.
about some children.
Yes.
Some have already heard it, and they wanted to ask you to do it again, but I'm gonna.
Okay, so when we started the school year, we had a specific young man. His name is Brian. And when Brian came into our class, he's an 8th grader. He's traveled. He's been very transient. And he came to our school. and said, I'm not going to do anything, and I just don't know how to read, and I just don't care, and he's just not going to do anything. And by using data that we had, I sat down with him and said, hey, look, you've made 12% growth on your Achieve 3000. And he was like, what? I've done what? And from that moment on, he came in ready to learn, and he was my student who made 29-point growth on his MAP scores, and on his Achieve 3000, 155 points of growth. And you know, some of the way that these tests are assessing, they're assessing nonfiction text, which for the rest of their life, they're going to be reading and accessing nonfiction text through high school and through college. And he didn't think he was going to be a college-bound student, but he's been talking about that and looking at some of this stuff, and he's ready to work for it. And that's really has an impact on us.
And the same student for math, he would just come in and sit down, and after a few days, I sat with him, and I'm like, we need to work. We're gonna have to learn how to do formulas, because I don't know if he was used to not doing anything in his other classes or what. And after a few days of me sitting next to him, he goes, Miss Gardea, why can't you just be a normal teacher? And I'm like, wait, I'm not normal? And then I'm like, why? He's like, well, normal teachers just let me sit here, put my head down, and not do anything, and you're over here pushing me. And I'm like, buddy, if it takes 2 weeks, 2 months, we're gonna sit here until we get you to do it. And he understands now how to use formulas. He knows his geometry. He's able to do exponents by himself now, so we're very happy. And I think it has helped his confidence level. Like, this I can do, and I could do anything I set my mind to. So we're looking forward to what he's gonna do in the future.
I just wanted to add what Mrs. Vega and Ms. Gardea are talking to you about is empowerment, and they're empowering their students and giving them the knowledge that they need and the information they need to set goals for their learning. And it's kind of a novel idea for our children in special education, because they spend most of their educational time with parents and teachers and other adults in a room talking about all the plans that we have for them, but rarely do they get involved. But just knowledge is power. We all in this room know that. And finally, having viable data that we understand and that we can translate into a student's language and sit with them and tell them what they're able, show them what their results are, and have them dream and have them set those goals is very powerful. And it's exciting to see what's happening at Landmark, and it's also happening at all our other schools as well.
Were there any questions for them? They deserve better than that. They deserve better than that. I mean, I could listen to their story all day, every day. And I hope that answers the question that was asked earlier about our goals for our students with disabilities. Is that phenomenal? Is that not phenomenal? I think Dr. Larson probably wants them to maybe come visit and talk to some other teachers, because what they're doing with our special education students is absolutely phenomenal, and I love hearing it. I love hearing it. Thank you again, guys. I'm going to be talking about what we are doing for our African American students, but before I do that, I wanted to provide you with this definition that we received in our Equity Institute that's going on in Moreno Valley, and we are just having an exceptional time with the Equity Institute, and I just need a volunteer, Mr. Scott, to read this slide for me.
Cultural competence is defined as an ongoing process. Mic check.
There you go.
All right. Cultural competence is defined as an ongoing process by which individuals and systems respond respectfully and effectively to people of all cultures, languages, classes, races, sexes, ethnic backgrounds, religions, sexual orientations, abilities, and other diversity factors in a manner that recognizes, affirms, and values the worth of individuals, families,
and communities and protects and preserves the dignity of each.
Thank you, sir. Such a nice voice. You know, when we're talking about cultural proficiency, we are not just talking about African American students. We are talking about treating everyone in a way that affirms them and makes them feel that they are respected. And so when we do, the more training we do in the area of cultural proficiency, it's not only supporting African American students, but it is supporting everyone. It's supporting every student, every adult in our school district, every parent, every teacher, in a way that affirms. And don't we all want to be affirmed? And when we're responding, it's not just responding, but responding how? What's the word by responding? It's responding so that it's effective, responding respectfully and effectively. What does that mean? Respectfully and effectively. Because sometimes we can say things kind of in a respectful manner. You know, someone asks us, but what makes it effective? You know, thank you, Mr. Acord.
I would say that you're making a difference. You're effective. You're making a difference. You're enabling good change.
Thank you so much. So that is really powerful. If we can do this to all, you know, and it's part of what even connected with our parent ambassadors, that we have them from all different groups of people so that everyone is feeling like they are important in our district. All of you are important, all of our parents are important, all of our students are definitely important. So I hope that you feel that way. Some of the things that we're working towards with our African American students, unconscious bias training, and we are so happy that this was, you know, in collaboration with our Teachers Association to bring this program to our district so that, you know, because sometimes we have unconscious biases that are preventing our students from being able to learn effectively. And so training that supports that has really been beneficial to our district and in support. It's continuing. We're in the fourth year now, and it's fourth year, and Dr. Buster has extended it, you know, so that we're continuing to do that, and it's fabulous. We send a lot of people to the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators Professional Development Summit, so that, again, we're learning more and more about how we can respond respectfully, how we can, you know, you've seen on the dashboard that it's an area of concern for African American students. And so what we're doing is providing opportunities so that staff, students, parents are feeling affirmed, and we believe that that will result in an increase in our student achievement for those, for African American students. We also do the Footsteps to Freedom tour, and Mr. Holguin has gone on that tour. I'd like to be able to say that I have gone on that tour, which follows the footsteps of the Underground Railroad. I see one of our phenomenal teachers who is nodding her head that, yes, this is something that really has an impact. I haven't seen anyone go on that tour. I know Mr. Scott's gone. Many of the ambassadors have gone. So I think Patty Rucker and I decided that we may go this year, that we may go on this trip. So if there's someone else who's thinking that it would be something that they would like to experience, please come see me, and me, Patty, and Maribel Maddox. One of the things we've implemented in our district is the AXA Equity Institute. We have 10 schools going through that program, and it is phenomenal, the work that we are being exposed to. We recently, last week, we had Tyrone Howard here as a guest speaker, and the teachers are telling me they are so excited that we had him. He was also at our Unity Conference and did a session with our parents, and they absolutely loved him. So, our African American Parent Advisory Council, that's at individual school sites, APAC. We also have the district organization, the African American Advisory Council, which includes community members. And we have our meeting this week on Thursday. We've done African American Parent Nights. We are part of the Riverside African American Achievement Initiative, along with the superintendent, who's also a member of that. We have students who attend that, and they were instrumental in developing the blueprint for success that Riverside County Office of Education has put on. Our Hanging On to Positive Expectations, the conference we do for African American students. Rites of Passage program, which is really been a phenomenal. And if you went to the Martin Luther King Scholarship Breakfast, that is overseen by the Reverend Dr. Charles Lee Johnson, who actually wrote the curriculum for that program. And our students, we have about 20 students who are participating in that program this year. Phenomenal. We have a lot of mentoring because, you know, what we learn is that, again, another positive way of connecting those students is mentoring. I think that was mentioned over here also by someone. You can go to college, historical black universities and college fairs where we have people, not just from our district participating, but because it's such a phenomenal activity. We have schools coming as far as LA because it's open. We have people, you know, we used to have people coming from Riverside before they copied us, and they have their own fair now. So that's how you know you're doing good work, when they start copying you. So they're copying us, but that's a good thing also. We support our Black Student Union clubs at high schools. Again, just another way of affirming those students. Same thing at the middle school level, our Junior Black Achiever clubs, the Council of African American Parents, parenting classes. We have classes going on right now at Honey Hollow and La Jolla Elementary. And, you know, it's a positive that not only do we have African American parents, but we have an increased number of Latino parents who are participating in that. And so that is really phenomenal. That's really phenomenal. And we also have African American AVID classes at the middle and high school. This is just a sampling of what we're doing to increase the connection we have, increasing our parent engagement levels and our student engagement levels for parents of African American students. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask me about those? No questions? No questions. All right. I'm going to go on to talk to you about, we've reviewed a little bit already about our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan, which is really what this entire stakeholder group is responsible for providing input for. And, you know, it documents and communicates what we are doing, how we're spending our funding, our supplemental concentration funding, to support student outcomes and overall performance. It is a 3-year plan. But what does that mean? It's a 3-year plan. But every year, it's reviewed and updated. And I want to just share with you, what do we do to review it, which is really pretty complex. We have to look at our actions and services to see if they're being supportive of students. Did we get the desired outcomes? Did they address the needs? And that's why the dashboard, and so all of this goes together. So we get the information from the dashboard, and then we take a look at what we're doing to determine if what we're doing actually meets the needs of our students. How have the actions addressed the identified needs and goals of specific school sites? You saw Mr. Allegre talking about the different school sites and what colors they have. So it drills down all the way from the district. At the district level, we're looking at all students. We're also looking at school sites. And in our school sites, our principals are also sharing with their staffs and their parents, you know, what the need is at their specific school site. What information did we take a look at? What progress have we seen? And you saw some of the greens and the blues that we're so very proud of, but you also saw some yellows that we're, again, very proud of because they used to be red. So it's all about growth. What differences are there between budgeted expenditures and estimated actual expenditures? So every year we take a look at, if we said we were going to spend $100,000 on foster youth, did we spend $100,000? If we didn't spend $100,000, why didn't we spend $100,000? And there, you know, it may be that we spent more than we allocated, and sometimes we spend less just because maybe it teamed up with another action or services, and so we didn't need to spend $100,000. So it's a really comprehensive process of examining, and so even though it's a 3-year plan, we take a look at it every year to see if something needs to be changed or if something needs to be added. Any questions really about how that 3-year plan, because I know everybody says a 3-year plan, but why are we taking a look at it again? If it's 3 years, why don't we meet every 3 years?
Lisa, what year are we in now?
4. Well, because you look at it every year, so if today is, if we do the update in 2017, the plan goes through 2020.
You know, I was at this meeting that Mr. Holguin talked about, and I asked this question, why did they make it a 3-year plan? I think it's insane. Because, you know, you all think it's a 3-year plan, but it's not. It's an annual plan that's updated. The reason they did it for 3 years, and this is what they told me, was because when Mrs. Dagnall budgets, she does it for 3 years. And so she looks at the, well, no, but it's a budgeting thing. And so it's not really based on any sound idea about, you know, programs and things, because when you're implementing change in a school district, and my higher ed people who are lofty and, you know, talk about this all the time, when you're doing change in anything, it takes you at least 3 to 5 years to see the change be effective or be affected by what you did. So this is all about budgeting, because when Tina Dagnall is looking at the 3-year trend in our district, like where are we headed, that's what that 3-year plan is about the financial piece. The program piece is really a yearly annual update that you're always looking at, because you're always getting data every year. And so, I mean, it didn't make any sense to me. I kept thinking, why is it a 3-year plan? It's not, you know. But so I said it's a multi-year plan that's updated annually. So, and they liked that at the state, you know, they told me. You know.
Thank you for clarifying, sir. I appreciate that. You had the same question?
What year are we in? And I was like, I mean, it's about the year that you're in, not what the number of years in it.
Okay. Very good. I'm going to ask our Director of Accountability and Assessment, Glenn Allegri, to come up again and tell you about another piece of how we look at our LCAP. And just so thankful that he's doing this. He's not feeling at his best, but he's still better than most, even a little bit down. Thank you, Glenn.
Fortunately, like Lisa said, we have we take the LCAP very seriously, and one of the things that we do to make sure we're analyzing the LCAP and making sure we're meeting our goals is we have a partnership with a company called Hanover Research, and they we partnered with them. We gave them our LCAP plan, we gave them our goals, we gave them our data, and they went in and made a pretty complete analysis of the data and how we are towards meeting all our LCAP goals. And so inside your packet, you're going to see a summary, the executive summary of it. And I just wanted to touch on a few of the points there that a lot of this we've noticed, because we like to analyze our data as well, but to have an independent partner look at it and verify some of the things we're doing well, and also verifying some of the some of the areas of improvement, challenges, is very reassuring to know that we are analyzing well and doing the right things to get to the right place. What they told us as some of the key findings was, as far as our goal for college and career readiness domain, that we were on track, or we were achieving pretty well on our graduation rate, which, if you guys know, if you've looked at it, for the past 6 years, we are on that steady climb upwards. Hopefully the release of the 2017 graduation rate is going to come out soon, and hopefully that will show that we're still on track. But as you guys know, we're doing really well with our graduation rate. Our A through G completion rate, although it dipped a little bit, our 4 comprehensive high schools are still achieving above what the target was for the district. And it says that here as well. Early assessment program, if you're not aware of that, if students take the Smarter Balanced test in 11th grade and they do very well, meaning they score a 4 on it, then it gives those kids the opportunity to not have to take an entrance exam when they get to community college or the Cal State system. It also lets them start taking college credit-bearing classes immediately without having to take any remedial math. So that's one of the things our high schools really stress to all our juniors in the 11th grade year. Take this test seriously. It can have major consequences for you as far as your college going. And so they're saying that in ELA, we're on track, which is good. And then our dropout rate is also headed in the right direction. Our student achievement domain is mixed, and that's goal 1, where they were looking at our SBAC and ELA, and although our math went up well this last year, we still didn't hit the target that we had set in our LCAP goals and expectations, and as well as ELA. ELA at least has flatlined for the past 3 years. Fortunately, as Dr. Buster and Ms. Boyenheld will tell you, we just adopted new ELA curriculum, and so we're only excited to see where that takes us in the next couple of years as our teachers become more familiar with the curriculum, start using all the different universal access pieces. Those scores are going to be, instead of mixed, I think they're going to be headed in the right direction as well. And then it also says EL reclassification is mixed. Don't get this confused with the dashboard where we had a green, because this is just the reclassification by itself. The dashboard, when you look at the EL progress, is talking about all the kids that are ELs taking the CELT and moving up a level, as well as those that are being reclassified. So it's a little bit different with that as well. And then where it says learning environment domain is still a work in progress, looking at discipline and then attendance, which they're measuring with chronic absenteeism. So we didn't hit the marks at discipline. They're looking at suspension rates. We didn't hit where we wanted to, but talking to a lot of the sites, they're putting a lot of plans into action, and especially with PBIS now in full force, we're expecting those to be headed in the right direction as well. Something else that wasn't mentioned here, but in the actual summary, there is a part of the parent engagement as well, and as we were collecting data for that, I was in awe at how many things we actually do for our parents. Not only do we have a strong parent ambassador program, we also have so many parent conferences. We send parents to so many conferences, and then between what's it? Andrea Chavez, what is that? The Parent Engagement Center, thank you. They put on so many things to get parents knowledgeable about how to help their kids with literacy, so that when the parents know, then the students know. And it's such an amazing thing. And we will be posting the full review on our website if you want to read it. I just wanted to go through some of the key findings and some of the highlights. Questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. I think it's really important to think about the Hanover report, because not only are we reviewing our progress and looking at it, we've also contracted with an outside agency because we want to make sure that we address anything that needs support. And so, you know, what the Hanover report found is pretty closely aligned with what we were already looking at. And so that's great news for us. I want to take a look at, there's in your packet, there is this sheet that outlines all of our actions and services that are within our LCAP. This was just a review of our goals. But what I'd like for you to do is have a conversation, a discussion at your table. And I want you to take a look at all of these, and there's about, let's see, I think 61 actions and services that complete our LCAP. And if there is anything on this that you have a question about, I'm confident that there's probably someone at your table who can support you in detailing exactly what it is. But if you have questions, because if you have questions, maybe when we do our community meetings, maybe it might be something that we need to review there also. So take time at your table, review the list. If there's something that you don't know what it is and you want to know, when we regroup, we'll discuss it also if you haven't gotten the answer from someone at your table. Any questions? So take a look at all the actions and services. It's in your folder. If there's something that you don't know what it is or you have a question about, have a discussion with your table partners about what it is. And then when we come back together as a whole group, if you have questions, we'll take care of it then also. Thank you. have any questions, Ms. Neal? No? You know what all these are? So good, good. I like that. A lot of CTE.
Meaning career courses. The biggest thing that I'm having a problem with.
The CTE is covered by a grant. Some, not a lot. But the CTE is not in here because it's covered by a grant. So it's not included in here as an action and services. Well, the grant is like 1.5 million. You need a lot more?
Were you involved with this at all, or is that
It's Glenn, but the whole report is about 28 pages. So.
Oh, it's a 28 page report.
So this is the executive summary. This is the executive summary. So,
haven't seen it?
Yeah.
No, Cam hasn't seen it.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
And we don't know about the cost of it either, so we're going to have a few questions.
And I'm okay with that. Questions? To SEPA? I don't know that. I guess it is. To SEPA. That's how it's worded in our LCAP, so you're probably right. Okay, thank you. Tell me. Any questions that Dr. Birdie couldn't answer?
Not so far.
Good.
I'll let you know.
Good. Any questions about any of the actions? No? You know what everything is?
Well, I did ask about certain things. Oh, the PAR program.
The PAR is the Peer and Assistance Review, and so that's like if a teacher requests, like if they ask themselves for help, like say they say, I need help with, they voluntarily ask for help. That's what the PAR program is.
Okay. And
Good
then
question.
Access to instructional materials?
Yeah, so there's money in the LCAP for like supplemental books and things like that.
My question is, how come we don't receive them in STC that much? Like, for example, the study sync, we're using the EL component of it, but we can't access a lot of the materials because the district didn't pay for them.
Like what? I thought they got all the online.
At least we don't have access to it.
No, they didn't because our district has purchased its own separate EL curriculum.
Oh.
So that's why they didn't purchase that. But for our special ed kids, going the EL track gives us all this extra vocabulary supports that our SDC kids require.
And so we would benefit from that.
And have you asked for that?
This is a conversation.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh,
Good.
having
Good,
that.
good, 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 good.
Me, so
No,
then
right.
I'm over here.
I mean, but I mean, I would be
process of learning.
So yeah, I mean, that's
Okay.
because we should have whatever we need, right? Whatever we need. Instructional material. How you guys doing?
Hey, these fine students had a couple questions.
Okay.
First of all, when, and I assume it was like 3 years ago, when was it determined that 51 million would be to goal 1 and 5 million was going to be spent on goal 2? Who made that determination?
Yeah, it's not necessarily like who decided. It's like when they did the actions and services, more ended up being under. So it's not like we said, okay, here's 51 million for goal 1. And we used to just kind of have them.
When they costed it out.
When they costed it out.
And so then they added them all up, and that's where it's.
Right. And so, I mean, but it makes sense because that's the one about, you know, instruction and reading, literacy, numeracy. And I mean, if you think about it, even the Chromebook initiative, that's like a 3.5 million. So the items that are under that one are more costly.
And then this guy is in ROTC, and he noticed here, what exactly did ROTC get?
Well, we put in for, to add a program at Vista del Lago. We're having JROTC Marines, and it's been a long process. You know, we've been battling for approval for 2 years, and they had a freeze on opening any more programs. And so finally, we believe it's going to be, we've gotten approval to implement for this upcoming school year. So it'll be at Vista del Lago, they'll have the Marines.
That's where it is.
So, yeah, they had a freeze. It's been like, so now we're working out all the logistics, and we should be in place for the next school year. Great question.
Could this be changed anytime?
Yes, it can, and that's why when we review at the end of the, at the end of the year, if there's something, could be some items that are done, could be, but some items, like say if you did staff, it's hard to, to get rid of a program, then it means cutting staff, releasing, laying off. So it kind of all goes together, but all of this could be, potentially could change, yeah. You're welcome. Those are great questions. Anything
Good
else?
students.
They are. Thank you. Oh, okay, what? Huh? All right, if I can bring your attention back to the front. So I was walking around, I got some great questions. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time? Any questions from your discussion? I want to compliment the students here. They had some great questions. Asked about JROTC, and I think we'll be happy to be able to implement that program upcoming at Vista del Lago High School. The Marines, I told them it's going to be the Marines. Did I tell you that it's Marines? And so they're happy. They were smiling also. Any other questions before we go on? All right. And I will call up our Director of Budget and Jessica Garcia, new Budget Director. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have a video for you guys tonight just to kind of tie in what were some of the top expenditures, meaning what did we spend our money this year on so far, and what are we continue to spend our LCAP dollars on. So we'll start with the video.
3279.
That is correct.
How did they know this? Are you kidding?
Welcome to today's academic challenge. You may only use what's on your table. There will be 3 rounds, and the questions will get harder. What is the largest animal living today? Team A.
Blue whale.
Team B.
Blue whale.
That is correct. What is the square root of 144?
12. 12.
Correct again.
Go, Janine. India.
India. Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong. William Shakespeare.
Correct. We are tied. For round 2, we're going to give both teams some additional resources.
Okay.
Okay, so 2017.
Who was the first president to live in the White House?
John Adams.
That is correct.
Oh my God, bro.
Come on.
What does the acronym LCD stand for?
Wow. Just wow. We can do this one. Right?
Liquid crystal display.
Correct.
How did they know this? Go with it, just go with it.
Sargasso Sea.
That's correct.
8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Correct.
Samuel Morse.
Correct.
Denver, Colorado. Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Salt Lake City, Utah.
That is correct. Let's pull back the curtain.
Are you kidding me? That's so not cool. I'm offended that they had such an unfair advantage. It was way too fast.
Please have your team captain open the envelope on the table.
70% of teachers assign homework requiring access to the internet, and yet 5 million households with school-age children do not have high-speed internet service at home. That just puts 5 million other people at a disadvantage, which is not okay.
Nearly 50% of students say they have been unable to complete a homework assignment because they did not have access to the internet or computer.
I didn't know that the percentage was so high. Everything he does is in the computer. So if he didn't have access to it, he wouldn't have a chance.
Someone may not be pulling the grade not because they're not smart, they just don't have access to what all the other kids have.
Oh, that's so great.
So I share this with you because today we had a business services meeting, and in business services, I'm constantly working on ways to tie what we do to the students. And so when we're talking about business services and what we offer and our support and our role, I let our team know today, this is what you've been doing. So those purchase orders that have come through, the phone calls that have come through, the questions on the risk side that have come through. We have parents in our office who have signed a form to say if something's damaged, here's what they could be responsible for. But there's a bigger picture here to it. And so I really wanted to make that connection. And when we shared that with our department today, there really wasn't a dry eye in there. Everybody was pretty much, I get it. Okay, although we can provide for our students at home, not everybody can. So now what our district has done with some of our LCAP dollars is help to make it a little bit more fair and accessible for all of our students in the district from grade 3 through 12. So one of our top expenditures is the Chromebook Take-Home Initiative that Moreno Valley has implemented. And another one of ours is the instructional coach piece. And I sat down with Lisa because I am fairly new to this district and I want to learn about what we're doing here. What is Moreno Valley doing with our dollars? I see the stuff come through my office, but I really want to understand and make that connection so that it makes sense. It makes sense why we're doing it. The instructional coaches piece, we sat and we discussed and I said, okay, I see why we're doing this. It's to allow our teachers to continue getting that ongoing support for the ongoing support they have to provide to our students. So not all students have the same needs. Not all students have the same home and background. And our teachers have to be equipped with the same tools or different tools to be able to associate and find those, that middle and common ground to help our students succeed and feel that they're in a place where they can go ahead and be guided. The full day kindergarten program, with our standards increasing, so does our day with our students. It needs to increase. And with our 5-year-olds, we need to be able to sit there with them and have more time to help them develop their social skills and help them develop their learning and listening skills. They're only 5. And then we have the summer learning program. And with these right here, in our area, we have to be realistic. It helps to keep our kids engaged in the summer. It helps to keep them out of trouble. It even helps to keep them fed during the summer at times. It ensures that our students don't lose what they've had through the school year to retain over the summer. And then there's the monies allocated to the school sites for intervention. These dollars here are used for tutoring, they're used for credit recovery, they're really used to just help our students when they need somebody to intervene. Visual and performing arts, we have great programs going on right now, our choirs, our bands, our theater. I know our theater programs, they've been exceeding and they're getting recognized in the state. And then we have the International Baccalaureate program at Canyon Springs High School and Vista Heights Middle School. These programs are helped to retain our students to our school districts so we don't lose them to neighboring districts. They're also utilized to help get our kids ready for college and career readiness. The measure of academic progress, the MAP software. So our special ed ladies spoke so well about this program, and I had a great understanding of it, but when they were able to touch on it and explain how they can show where the student currently is, where the student wants to get to, and they can show the progress and be able to quantify that for them. I think that by them speaking here tonight, it really shows where our dollars are going for that MAPS program and how we're able to quantify it for the success of our students. Number 9, support for English learner students. We've seen on the dashboard the English learner students, it's green. It's doing well, so our dollars are being allocated properly there. And then the support for foster youth and homeless students, I mean, Ms. Rucker over here, she's doing her best, and now she even has a day for our students, not just a slot with UCR. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
So I just want to take a minute to talk about the timelines. You know, the budget and LCAP is a very collaborative process, and you can see that with all of the different meetings that will be held regarding the budget and the LCAP. So we have our LCAP stakeholders meeting today, and there'll be one in April. We have our JFMC, or our Joint Fiscal Management Committee meetings. We have those monthly. We also have our superintendent's CAM meeting, which is about every other month. We're going to have a budget study session on April 24th to review the LCAP and the budget. And then June 12th, we'll do a budget LCAP public hearing. That is a requirement. And then we'll present the budget and LCAP to the board June 26th for adoption. And so then just to show you a little bit of LCFF budget timelines, January is when we get our initial projections based on the governor's budget. And so we start working on the budget then. March does show us a statutory deadline for certificated reductions. Between March and April, we ensure that our LCAP actions and services are actually in the budget. May, we get a May revise on our budget projections from the governor, so we can then review and revise our projected budget as necessary. Then in between May and June, we hold our public hearings for the LCAP and budget, and then, as I said, the board adopts the budget, and then revising the budget if necessary in August when the final budget is adopted. So at the same time, the LCAP process is going on, then the budget process is going on, and we try to make it as collaborative as possible because all of the services that we put in the LCAP then have to be funded into the budget itself. So does anybody have any questions on the timeline? Okay.
I do want to thank you for being here. I know that was a lot of information, but we need to make sure that you have the information. So if you have questions, you know, we would like your input. So a couple of reminders. You're invited to come to the community LCAP meetings. We think it's important to go out to the community. You know, it's great that you're here, but we're going to go out to the schools. You might not have a chance to ask a question, or you might have an idea. If you could please write it for us, is very important. We also made time This is not over till 6, but of course you're free to go. All the directors and coordinators, could you please raise your hand? So all these people are here to answer and help you with questions if you have them. So there is some time to do that also. And I see a lot of sandwiches and food, so there's time to also eat. So I want to take this time now to have you network with each other, to ask questions. We're here for you, and please leave this. And if you write your name and phone number, we will make sure and get back to you. So with that, I want to thank you again for being here. Guys, it's only Monday. It's only Monday, but it's a short week. I love short weeks, but yet not really, because then you just work harder for the days that you're at work, I think. So with that, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Do not leave here with your question not being answered. Thank you so much.